What's up, everybody? Welcome to Freddy and Friends. And today, welcoming my dear friend and fucking mystery man. What's your real name, Stencil?
No.
No.
I
didn't think so.
Stencil is an old DJ moniker that I used when I first moved to LA in 2009, or I started using the name in 2008. I started making friends in LA because I was working in LA.
Okay.
And my first best friend that I made was a rapper.
Okay.
And he found out that I was
dead?
No. No, dude, he lives with his mom in Beverly Hills. It's another story.
So he ain't rapping.
He was a rapper. He found out I was a DJ. He said, "Hey man, do you want to host my mixtape?" And I said, "Hell yeah."
All right.
And from there, everyone I met in LA, it was kind of through him. So he was introducing me as Stencil to everybody.
Love it.
Including my current girlfriend. So even she calls me Stencil.
I don't fucking know you as anything else.
Everyone I know these days now calls me Stencil, except for people at my day job and my mom and dad.
Okay. Well, look, you know why you're on here, because I've known you for a while, and I feel like I don't know a fucking thing about you.
Oh man, we're best friends. That's why we're doing this.
You're
my best friend. No.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. You're in this like liminal space that I don't know, always what you're doing or what you're up to. So I was hoping we could have a little foray into the world of Stencil today.
I appreciate this. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
The last podcast I guested on was.
So it's not your first rodeo.
It's like my second rodeo, I guess, actually being a guest on one. My first.
I was hoping to pop that cherry, but I didn't get the chance.
It was like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was being grilled about my relationship by Dennis Rodman.
Wow.
That was my first podcast. Emily and I were both on it.
You guys were both on it?
He was doing some sort of like romance interview podcast where he would talk to couples and like give them kind of off the wall therapy and suggestions.
Therapy from Rodman. Wow.
He was a cool guy.
He had a really nice, cool guy. Yeah, I don't know him, but
real good presence in real life. Real friendly.
Yeah.
He talks a little fast. He's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that whole podcast got scrubbed off the internet.
Because we were gonna go dig that shit
up. I know.
Up,
like 2 years later, it got scrubbed off. But the Instagram still exists, and you can see a thumbnail there of Rodman, myself, and Emily.
No shit.
But we were the final episode that he ever recorded, because after that, apparently he just like ditched the project, and I think he did like 12 episodes total.
That's probably what this show's going to last.
We were 12.
you're
so everything we record this week and next week that's it.
Yeah, we're just done.
Yeah.
We met through our significant others, who are both firecrackers. Your girlfriend Emily's covering the Diddy case right now. She's out in New York.
Yep.
What a fiasco that is. So, that's like so suiting for her to be in.
It's pretty crazy, and I mean, I'm glad she's doing it as an independent now.
Yeah,
just working for herself, making her own money, getting her own following.
Yeah,
it's been working out really well. I think she's doing a great job over there. I've had like neighbors texting me how cool it is that she's over there. They're seeing her online talk about it. I was just in your office bathroom like 10 minutes ago, and I heard somebody in the stall listening to a Diddy like trial podcast. And I was like, dude, that sounds kind of like the interview Emily was doing yesterday. Yeah. I don't know if it was the one, but
it could have been.
It might have been.
I mean, I don't know how many people like Emily are out there really doing that, but
there's a handful. There's a handful. There's some that take the approach of like, they're literally doing like TikTok dances outside the courtroom. Like,
sure, they'll do anything. Yeah.
I'm here with my Starbies at the Diddy trial.
Yeah.
But she's taken a serious approach to it.
For sure. No, I love her shit.
She's been giving up to the minute updates on her Instagram.
Yeah.
She's been writing a pretty long form article on her Substack like every night or every other night.
Amazing.
And it's good stuff. And then she was on like a long YouTube live interview yesterday after the court.
Nice. No, it's amazing. She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
You're originally from Hawaii.
So
What was that?
my mom is from Hawaii.
Your mom's from Hawaii.
Yeah, so my mom was born and raised in Hawaii. She came to California for college
Okay.
and never went back.
Got it.
She met my dad in college. My dad's from California,
Okay.
and we stayed here. Admittedly, I'm not well traveled as you are.
It's understandable.
Gone to
Not
Hawaii.
many people are.
I've gone to Hawaii though, like almost every year of my life,
Sure.
to visit her family out there. But I've only been to one island because all my family's on one island. They're all on
okay.
Oahu.
Okay.
I would love to see Maui, Kauai.
Did
but,
you actually spend a significant amount of time growing up there, or you were always here?
No, I was always here.
Always here,
But I
okay.
spend a little chunk of summer there every year.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So then where were you born in California?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born in Orange County in Fullerton.
I think I knew that. Yeah, I knew you were pretty close. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So came up to LA in 2009, you said.
Yeah.
DJ career. So then...
Can't call it that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, hey.
It was a fun side gig.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Rodman podcast. What are you doing these days?
I'm doing whatever it takes to stay here, man.
Because I want to get into the crypto, because what I do
Yeah.
know about you is you're a fucking gnarly crypto guy. And I
Yeah.
want to talk about that because my knowledge, I don't know shit about it, really.
Yeah.
It's not something I fuck with. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
I have at least like 3 jobs right now, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. I will do whatever it takes to stay in LA because I love LA.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this because
Why is that?
I'm not just saying this because you're one of my employers now, but I'm struggling, man. It's tough out here.
Yeah.
Rents are high, gas is high, food's high.
Yeah.
So this is one of my jobs. I do video production,
Yep.
podcast production, whenever a gig comes along, because I don't advertise it. It's all just word of mouth. And
Sure.
I usually do video work like once a month or maybe once every 2 months, just depending on what client shows up.
Yeah.
So that's one of my jobs. My main job, I have a day job where I work at a tech company.
Yep. That I know about. Yep.
Yeah, so I've been there for 16 years.
Wow.
And it's real comfy.
Yeah. You come and go.
Yeah.
You do whatever the fuck you want. It seems like, yeah.
It's comfy because I work remotely now, especially ever since COVID.
Yeah.
I used to have an office in downtown LA. So that's part of why I first moved to LA
Okay.
in 2009.
Yeah.
I was like walking distance from it. It was great. Downtown was fun.
Downtown was a different story. Yeah.
Again, until COVID
Right.
kind of blew it up.
Let's take a walk down there now.
I don't like to. Sometimes I'll visit Little Tokyo, which is like super poppin'
I
nowadays.
don't
By the way, it's
get
like
there
it's so
as much as
crowded.
that. So there's great restaurants downtown, and
Yeah.
then COVID kind of put the kibosh on that a little bit. People stopped.
Yeah,
going, but-
offices closed, therefore restaurants closed. It
Yeah.
trickled down.
Yeah.
Skid Row totally spread out.
Magnified. Yeah, it really did.
My block where I was, which was like Broadway and Fifth, we were literally outnumbered by homeless,
Yeah. Yeah.
unhoused people.
Yeah.
However,
No, they're
however
running
these
their
libs
own-
like to say it. No,
They're running their whatever. They're running their own little show down there anyway. I mean, that's
It's crazy.
That's a serious community.
It was also like, it was very eye-opening. Like the way that I adapted to life there was interesting because it made it hard for me to adapt after I moved out of downtown.
Understandable. Yeah.
Like when I was downtown, first of all, I would walk very fast. I would make eye contact with nobody
Yeah.
because that's how you end up getting harassed and
Of
whatever.
course. Yeah.
I was used to people hitting me up for money every 2 steps.
Sure.
I was used to seeing people passed out face down on the sidewalk. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's weird to feel like you sort of feel like, am I not a compassionate person? Like, do I not care about people? But it's like you see it every block.
Yeah. It's just
You
second
just
nature
you
at
just
that
walk right past it. It's like,
course.
is that guy dead? I don't know.
point. Right. Could be. No, nothing I haven't seen before. Yeah. No, I get
it's
it.
everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I see people naked.
Always.
You know,
Always around.
everyone's strung out. It's mostly drugs.
Here. Sure.
Like if you ignore them, they don't even see you. Like they're
No.
they're in their own world. They don't
100%.
even know you're there.
No.
And then like after COVID hit, and then like those riots happened for a couple weeks. That was pretty crazy. I couldn't get the sound of helicopters out of my head for a week.
Yeah. That's a familiar sound here on a normal Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And it was like National Guard took over our street for a couple weeks. All the buildings were boarded up, and they stayed boarded up for like a year.
Oh, no doubt.
After that,
Yeah.
CVS closed, Rite Aid closed, Walgreens closed. Became ghost town. Weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
So then I moved out to Hollywood in like early 2022, and it was such an adjustment to be somewhere quiet.
Yeah.
And like to go grocery shopping and not be looking over my shoulder, or like hearing fights in the store,
You only
or
see
like
about half the amount
shoplifting.
you only about half the amount of dead people on the street in Hollywood than you see in fucking downtown.
I moved to a nice part of Hollywood, so it's like if I go south, I'll see that. If I try not to go south, but
I mean, it's they kind of clean it up, and then it happens again, and they clean it up, and it happens. I mean, you know how it is here. But we all kind of just, what are you going to do? I mean, you just kind of drive by and got to go about your business. I mean, it is what it is.
But anyways, so that's going back.
So you're not in the office much.
I'm not in the office much. I visit. After the offices closed from COVID, a couple years later, we bought a building in downtown Fullerton.
Okay.
Where I was born.
Yeah.
Really cool old building. It used to be a music store.
Cool.
And about a third, maybe a quarter of the office of that building is our office with like our desks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we turned a third of it into a nightclub that we actually we do events there like every Friday. We have live streams. It's really cool. There's a stage, there's a bar, cool lighting effects and video and all that.
Yeah.
And then the other third of it in the back is a video production studio, which is also pretty cool.
That's super cool.
So we do host some podcasts there and stuff too.
Okay.
If you ever want to switch up the scenery, but
I would love to come by.
But I've stayed there. I probably could go to another similar job and maybe make a little bit more money, but I don't want to start over somewhere new. I'm also part owner of the one that I've
get some
been
serious
with so long.
tenure there, man. I mean, it's
right.
That's a long time.
I stick around because I have the 401k. I'm part owner. And good benefits. Yeah. And I work at home. So that allows me to do side jobs like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's great. It's comfortable. I like it. Then my third job, I guess I would say, is crypto or just trading in general. I don't like to trade stocks. Stocks honestly confuse me.
Yeah.
I don't like having to rely on like what's this company doing.
Sure.
I'm more of a chart reader kind of guy.
Okay. You're a data guy though, right? You're fucking data monster. Like
I look at numbers and I look at charts, and I've stared at charts now for like 4 years every day straight, just to recognize patterns. Yeah. Just straight up pattern recognition. Yeah. Is mostly what I go off of now. Wow. I'm not a very good like long-term holder of things like I should be. I think that is the recommended route for most people. Sure. But because I treat it like a job, I'm trading price like every day on something. Okay. So I'll usually pick like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of my favorite coins at the time. I'll usually have a few monitors with different charts up. Yeah. And I'll look at them and I'll say, which one of these looks like it wants to make some sort of move up or down. And then I'll go off of that and I'll open a trade, long or short, up or down. Yeah. On whatever looks like it wants to make a move.
Were you, did you kind of gravitate towards crypto immediately once it, when it started circulating?
No. So I guess I first got into crypto in 2017.
That's quite some time now,
late 2017, right before Bitcoin made that first high. Yeah. At the end of 2017, and I was like, wow, this is great, because all I did was like buy some Bitcoin and some ETH, and it went up, and I was like, awesome. Yeah. And then it went back down the next year, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't sell any. I just held it. Yeah. Good man. And I waited. I did basically nothing other than I followed a few people on Twitter, crypto Twitter, they call it. I followed them back then, and then I just sort of tuned out for like until early 2020. Okay. Completely tuned out. Just kind of forgot I had
Sat
it.
on your shit. Yeah.
just went back to work, did my thing. And then early 2020, I got into NFTs and stuff that they were doing on
That's
the
when they
Ethereum
were
chain.
just literally pounding that shit down our throats.
It was
NFTs, yeah.
it was the next year that they started doing
Was
that.
it really? Okay.
So
yeah.
I was technically one of the early people in NFTs, and that's how I really got into it. Actually through like virtual worlds.
Yeah.
There was like this virtual thing called Decentraland where it ran in a web browser. So it's like you didn't have to download anything.
Yeah.
You just go to this website and it was 3D. You could run around these 3-dimensional spaces, but in a web browser. And that kind of blew my mind because I'm like, what do you mean? This isn't like a game I have to buy. It's something you could like link to people directly and they can meet with you virtually. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the land ownership in that, you could like buy land plots, and those plots were NFTs, which is just a token on the Ethereum blockchain that you own.
Right.
So that got me into it. I noticed there was a community of people and they all seemed to be builders. And I'm familiar with, tech builders from my day job. And I could tell when people were serious about something and doing something. So I just started showing up every day. I started showing up to their meetings whenever people were gathering together in there.
Yeah.
I found this company that was building a virtual casino that really interested me because I was like, dude,
sounds cool.
There's like websites where you can play blackjack and poker and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this was like, you're like an avatar and you're like standing at a roulette table and you're like playing roulette or
take
blackjack.
Me there. So you're on the monitor, but you're fucking controlling the dude to go into the blackjack table inside the casino, and you're playing with crypto.
Exactly. So that's what first really opened to my mind.
As you.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, holy shit, people are actually doing something here that might turn into something.
Yeah.
So I got close with the casino guy, the CEO, founder, whatever, and they released a thing where you could own one of the tables in their casino and get a cut of the profits made at that table.
Okay.
So that was an NFT, and at the time,
it's crazy.
At the time, I had a solid Bitcoin, but this was early 2020, and Bitcoin was still pretty low.
Yeah.
It was like 10K or less.
10K, yeah.
So I completely flushed it. I flushed my Bitcoin I had been holding for 3 years and bought Ethereum with it. So I switched sides.
Yeah.
And then I bought one of that casino's NFT with it. So I owned a roulette table in this casino.
You got a table.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It didn't end up working out in the long run. However, they did kick me back quite a bit of money for it not working out. So that was good. So they're honest people.
So I remember hearing about all this shit, right? Yeah. It's like metaverse kind of style. Mm-hmm. Is this still, like, are people still doing this shit? Or was that kind of like a little bit of a phase that just kind of vaped?
It comes in waves. So it was definitely, when I started it, there were not very many people.
Yeah.
Then the next year, 2021 came and NFTs really got popular.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then there was a big wave of people using it.
Yeah.
There were tons of people in this world. I could, join any part of it and see a bunch of people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Then the market died again, 2022, and the people are gone.
They're gone. And now where are we?
No more users. They're all out of here.
It's flat.
However, the builders stay consistent. Okay. The people that really believed in it from the beginning and they know how to build stuff and make stuff, they were stuck around and they were still building.
So I remember when, around that time, a lot of people were telling us to come up with NFTs and for the travel company, and we're like, what are we selling?
Right.
Fucking idea? Like, what is this? Like, there's nothing, but it didn't seem to really catch on. Yeah. But now with, it seems like it's kind of still. It's there. It's there.
It's there. It's established.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that like 99% of NFT projects are just dead in the water. Yeah. They're trash. People try to do trading card type of ideas. The the metaverse stuff honestly was more innovative because that was like, people liked to make fun of it and say like, oh, you own like a little plot of virtual land, like who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But they're not thinking of it in the way that I was, because you're not just owning a virtual piece of land. Like you technically bought a 3D website that's hosted for life. And if, working in web hosting, I know something about that. That costs money.
And if that shit catches on, that could be massive, bigger than anything.
Yeah. And I mean, even if it doesn't catch on, if you give like your business card to somebody, or, like my link in my bio is one of my metaverse spaces. Yeah. And they click a link on their phone and suddenly they're in this 3D space running around. It sort of blows people away. They're like, what kind of website is this? Like, how am I playing a game suddenly?
This is pretty wild.
Wild, right?
That's super wild. You got to show me.
I mean, I think it's well worth those types of purchases, especially right now when they're low. But
it sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
Guy like me, it's hard to kind of convert me or
I mean, even
capture me with that. I don't know why.
Even when it was big, like people were still, even the people in crypto were skeptical of the metaverse stuff. They didn't see it like I saw it, where it's like, dude, this is still pretty impressive whether you're using it or not. Yeah. And NFTs sort of turned into more of a status thing. The ones that really stuck around, the projects that stuck around, were profile pictures. So, for example, the Bored Apes they became like the Rolex. Okay. And it's like wearing a digital Rolex. Like if your profile picture was a Bored Ape, this meant that you first of all had money. You had money in crypto. You were doing something. Yeah. And you had some sort of influence over the other crypto people. Yeah. So I would say, a good handful, 5 to 10 of those projects stuck around because they built some sort of stigma or status. If somebody saw you with that profile picture, they know what you're about. They know you're part of like a group, you know?
No, it's just crazy.
And like there's a tweet that we always make fun of, because this one Bored Ape was offered like over $1 million for his ape. And he goes, I'm not selling, like maybe add a couple zeros to that and I'll sell it. Yeah. And then like months later, that shit went way down to like 10K or something. He's just like, well.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the kind of risk that's involved in this kind of shit, because you really don't know what's going to happen. But it seems like you have a grasp on like, what you're doing, and what you're willing to do. Right. Are you into like, I know you're an Ethereum guy, right? Yeah. Sounds like it. Are you one to, when you're looking on all those monitors, are you kind of looking for all the new coins and shit that are promising? Is that kind of what your day-to-day is with it?
It's part of it. New coins used to mean something different than they do now. Before the Solana ecosystem really took off, new coins were like, they were a lot easier to jump on and trade. Yeah. If somebody made a coin on Ethereum, on the Ethereum blockchain, it meant that they knew what they were doing. They actually had to put some thought into it. They had to put some money into it, and they had to know how to code a little bit. Sure. This was also before AI was really popular. Right. Then, people realized that the Solana chain is a lot cheaper than Ethereum to do things on. It's easier to launch a coin. A site started called pump.fun. Mm-hmm. Pump.fun basically allowed you to they gave you the framework. You just type in the name of the coin you want to make and hit enter. Boom. There's your coin. Yeah. It's on Solana. People can start buying it. Real easy.
Someone paid me in Solana. They owed me some money, and they're like, "Can I send you Solana?" I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck that is, but what do I need to do?" And I took it.
Yeah. So as far as transferring money back and forth and using it as a payment system, I do like Solana because it's cheap and fast.
It seemed easy.
Very easy. Yeah. One problem I'll say with it is that it's centralized. Well, more centralized than Ethereum. And Bitcoin's not centralized at all. So nobody really controls that.
What does that really mean, centralized in this world?
So I define it as, if something's centralized, one singular company owns and runs it. Okay. they're the ones responsible for the infrastructure that makes it work.
Yes.
They're the ones responsible for the money, all that.
Okay.
So Solana has a company behind it that founded it.
Yeah.
And they're the ones running the nodes, which are the, little network checkpoints that keep things running. And there have been times when, like, especially when the market's really hot and stuff gets busy, they've had to shut it off a couple times. They've had to shut the network off, and it's just kind of like, sorry, like, you can't transfer money right now until
that's what I'm saying.
until we turn this back on.
Right.
And usually that only lasts, maybe an hour, 4 hours. But the fact that it happens at all obviously told me that it's not ready to scale.
It's not ready to scale.
To a global audience.
Got it. Sure.
Not the way that we would hope for crypto to do.
And then that's where this whole Wild West kind of stigma comes from, right? I mean, shit like that.
And it's just another side of the hand, because Ethereum will not shut down, but what Ethereum does when it gets busy is get very expensive. So it's like, okay, you want to send $20 to this other wallet? Well, the network's busy, so that's going to cost you $100 just to send the $20.
Wow.
It's like, so that's when a lot of people jumped ship from Ethereum to Solana, because it was like, it's never going to cost me $100 to do something on Sol.
Well, that's very interesting.
Costs a few cents.
Yeah. What do you so how's AI weaving into crypto now? Like what, or how can you use AI with crypto to make your crypto life easier? Yeah,
good question. In my opinion, it's not super useful yet.
Okay.
That said, there are a couple of interesting accounts. So if you're familiar with AI agents, somebody can create an AI agent, which is sort of just an AI character or persona that does what it wants.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple of those on Twitter where they give it a Twitter account and they give it a couple of crypto wallets.
And it just fucking does.
And it just kind of becomes its own person and does what it wants.
Yeah, interesting.
And
how did it do?
one of the first big ones was called Truth Terminal.
Truth Terminal.
And Terminal got very popular very quickly.
Okay.
Built a big Twitter following.
Okay.
Built up a pretty big portfolio as well, which is impressive.
It's nuts.
Obviously. And then it sort of became like this pseudo like AI demigod, where it was like, wow, this agent became really popular and successful on its own. So now whenever it tweets any sort of coin, everyone follows it. They're like, yeah, I'm buying that too.
It's
like
crazy.
I'm getting in.
It's crazy.
So that's definitely an impressive new thing.
But for what you do, you said you're fucking scanning charts all day, right?
Yeah.
Can you throw that into AI and have it do the work for you, or you don't?
I probably could. I think it would be sort of difficult still in this stage.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what framework I would put that under. I also just don't trust it. So like part of what I was going to talk about with the Solana blockchain is like when Pump.Fun got made and everybody could just make their own coin.
Yeah.
It became a shit show.
Yeah, sure.
Because now there's like 1,000 new coins a day.
Right.
A lot of them have duplicate names.
Yeah.
Almost all of them last for like a second. So like
suck, yeah.
if you see one that's starting to go up in the first hour and you buy it, there's a huge chance it goes down the second hour.
Sure.
Like to
doesn't
nothing.
mean shit.
So
a lot of people get burned with that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of real quick ups and then downs. So I try not to mess with those too often.
Okay.
Sort of depends on like what channels you're in. I am part of a Telegram channel that's pretty close knit, and it's like these guys really do this all day long and they know what's going to make it or what's not.
Yeah.
And they're, in a sense, obviously still gambling.
Sure.
But they've got an edge. They're better at it than most because they literally do this all day and night.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I see something in that channel, I'll jump on it for a bit, and if it makes it past the first hour, I'll be like, all right, I'll hold it for a little bit and see where it goes. But otherwise, like I like to pick coins that are well established but don't cost much.
Yeah.
So something that has lasted for months and is, maybe the price point of it is only a couple cents or something like that. Anything that is capable of making a big move is what you want to trade on.
Nice.
For sure.
Do you see, in our lifetime, crypto replacing, government-backed money?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Completely replacing it?
Maybe. I don't think replacement's like the right word. I think that we're
usurping it.
We're going to become like a multi-currency type of society. Yeah. Bitcoin is definitely gold. It's a digital gold.
Digital gold, yeah.
Gold has always been important for countries.
Yep.
Obviously, our dollar is not gold backed anymore.
Right.
Since the 70s, but
fucking gold is still.
But gold's still important, and it's still the
yeah.
basis. It's a store of value for a lot of governments, and Bitcoin is that already.
Is the new gold.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah.
There's El Salvador, for example, which they totally switched to Bitcoin as their reserve currency.
Wow.
And it worked out for them.
Interesting.
It took a couple years. It was a little bit shaky, but it worked out.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they even have like special visas now, I think, for like Bitcoin people if you want to move there and just, be a big player over there. You can definitely do that.
I guess that could that's kind of like, I guess the next question would be like, developing countries kind of dabbling with
yes,
Bitcoin as maybe just their fucking currency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that was sort of their situation was like, well, our old currency is dying and we need something to bail us out.
Yeah, there's so many currencies that are worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a currency that we can switch to that isn't controlled by another country?
Yeah, interesting.
Bitcoin.
Could be very helpful.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Bitcoin, so far as we know, is the most decentralized thing.
Yeah.
The founder, we don't know who he is.
Right.
Probably dead.
Yeah.
I was part of a conversation once where a guy was talking that claimed to be there when Bitcoin was founded, and it was explained more like it was like a group of 5 or 6 guys that all had a different hand in it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously,
which makes kind of more sense.
Yeah,
right?
Satoshi Nakamoto was a pseudonym used because they knew that they would be hunted if somebody knew who it actually was that created it. So,
sure. It's wild, man. It's pretty crazy.
The original Satoshi wallet, still to this day, has never been touched. That Bitcoin is locked away, never moved.
What does that even mean?
So the founder Satoshi had
he's got a chunk sitting.
He
there.
had a little chunk, and it has just never moved.
There's no activity on that.
No
account.
activity.
Okay, but that account is visible.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's the great thing. I guess that's the whole founding reason of crypto is that everything is visible.
Yeah.
You can't hide things.
You can't hide shit. Yeah. You know where every cent is. Yeah.
The ledger, the blockchain, which is a ledger of every transaction that's ever happened, is visible.
Is infallible.
Public.
I mean, it's
You can't do anything with it.
Right.
That said, of course, I guess there's worries about like quantum computing because.
I guess that would be the next.
Yeah,
issue.
It is like a secure hash, and it's like quantum computing can theoretically break any sort of security barrier that might exist currently. So what happens, when we're already pretty much there? China has one, Google has one. Are they going to just break the system? I don't think so, but they could.
Who knows? What's a crypto cult? Because I keep hearing that term.
It's funny because the one I would say I'm in actually,
You're in one. Okay,
actually
cool.
has a coin.
Perfect.
Our coin is literally called Cult.
Cult.
And that only launched earlier this year.
Okay.
But it started with an NFT collection. So like those Bored Apes I was talking about.
Yeah.
Ours is called Milady.
Yeah.
And Milady is just like this little anime girl type character. And it's another profile picture. Typically these collections have about 10,000 in a collection. So given that a lot of people hold maybe 2 of them at a time, sometimes more,
Yeah.
sometimes less.
Yeah.
I'd say there's about like 3 to 4,000 individual Milady holders.
Interesting.
And so those 3 to 4,000 people would make up this cult, so-called. And ours has very much taken a strong position in the crypto community.
Wow.
And the larger internet, really. A lot of our people are very prolific writers.
Can we throw me in the cult?
Yeah.
Can we slip
Dude,
me in?
Yeah, you don't even have to buy a Milady. Like that's like a lot of these other collections get so like irritated and up in arms. They're like, if you're gonna try to be one of us, you have to buy one, or it's like we literally encourage you to steal one. Just like copy and paste
What's
the
a
picture
fucking
and make it
Milady
your
gonna
profile
cost me?
picture. Like right now, like 8 to 10K
Okay.
or so.
Okay.
Which is actually on the low end. They've been higher before, but the entire market, NFT market, it's been bottomed out for years.
Yeah.
It's actually impressive, I think, that the top 5 profile pictures like Bored Apes, Miladies, a couple others, Pudgy Penguins is another big one. I used to have one of those.
Okay.
Pudgy Penguin right now, that's worth like 10 ETH at least.
Wow.
And ETH is what, like $2,500, so that's 25 grand.
Okay.
I think it's impressive where they've stayed as much as the market tanked for NFTs.
Sure.
That defined the bottom as still substantial.
Okay.
For a lot of those things. So it's still a Rolex, you know what I mean? It's still, that's your profile picture, that's you wearing a nice watch on the internet.
Another job for you could be essentially helping people learn how to fucking navigate the crypto world.
Sure.
You can probably get paid to like idiots like me, how to make some investments in it and not lose. Or just at least make some diversificational stuff that just is like
I try
smart.
to like, yes, I could do that. Yes, I could sell a course. Selling a course these days has such a stigma. It's like, dude, that guy's scamming you, bro.
Nah,
it's
don't
like,
do the course.
Don't do
Especially
a course.
in that fucking
I've
genre.
done like some light mentor type stuff
Yeah.
where it's like, I'll teach you how to get in. I'll teach you how to trade a little bit.
Yeah.
But the rest is on you after that.
Yeah.
I don't like giving financial advice. Most people online, when they say stuff, have to also say not financial advice because,
Of course.
Because then when they lose, they
they're coming right
can
after
come
you, dude.
around
They're
and
coming
be
right
like,
for you.
well, you told me to do it, so I'm suing you. It's like, dude.
Well, back pocket. Keep it in your back pocket.
Yeah. No.
There's something I wanted to mention to you because you and me, we talk guns and shooting and all that shit a lot. I don't know if you saw this, but by LAX, there's a Canic. You familiar with? I think it's Mete 9. It's an EDC. It's a small 9mm. They have a Canic billboard for this gun right by LAX, and because I just came in the other day, I was like, "Fuck, that's sick!"
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. A gun billboard in LA.
Yeah.
I've never seen a gun billboard.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something they have in like the Midwest and stuff. I don't know, and maybe it's like Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I don't know
that I've ever seen a
but
gun
I've never
billboard
seen
anywhere, bro.
I've never seen a 9mm, EDC style gun on a fucking billboard.
Yeah.
In a blue state.
That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy, man. I was fucking floored.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah.
Dude.
I thought it was super cool. But
I,
not my gun of choice, but anyway, I mean,
I'm not a big collector yet, but I'm definitely, a Second Amendment advocate.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
But I only have one gun right now. It's just a simple handgun, a Glock.
You don't need more than the Glock. I mean, you don't need more than, you got a 19.
I mean, I also I don't live in a house, right? Like I don't have like a big property. Like if I had like a big yard and like actual land to watch over, I would probably also have longer range stuff.
Well,
rifle,
your coyotes
shotgun,
are more fucking dangerous than anything else coming around these days. Yeah.
Dude, and our coyotes are tame. Like I see coyotes like every few nights when I walk my dog. Yeah. And if they see me, usually they just kind of look and then walk away. Like they're not going to mess with my dog or anything. But
I literally long for those cries every night, man. When they
every time a siren goes by, I can hear like a pack of them crying.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I always wonder how close they are. Yeah, because I'm right in the canyon.
Yeah, they walk right down my street.
Yeah, I got them all the time. Yeah,
it's crazy. But pepper spray will really do the job if
I don't see them
Sometimes I have a
ever.
pepper spray on me just in case
Just
a
in
coyote
case, yeah.
actually wants to get close, but they
Yeah.
don't.
Only when you have your dog with you, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, that billboard really, I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been any brand, but I thought they were Turkish, that brand. I don't even know, but I'm sure
don't
they
know
make
either.
them in the States too, I guess. But I thought that was cool. I thought you would appreciate that.
Yeah, no,
But,
that's pretty dope. And you were able to bring yours over from when you moved,
Working
right?
on that. Yeah, we took care of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Second Amendment, I know we align on that.
Yeah, I've only had to almost use mine once so far. And I was going to get into this later, but this is one of the reasons I actually started going back to church about a year ago.
This is you almost killed a couple people.
I almost killed a guy, and
Okay.
obviously I don't want to do that.
No, of course not.
Even in self-defense, that's a very serious thing to have weighing on your shoulders.
You don't need
and
that
your
shit.
conscience.
You don't need that shit on your conscience.
It's not something you want to think about.
No, it's never going to feel good.
Yeah, but there was a Saturday morning, a little over a year ago. It was January last year. About 7:30 in the morning, I woke up to a guy in my house. I had gotten comfortable where I was because, again, I had just moved from downtown to a nice part of Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's just a super quiet street.
Sure.
Nothing ever happens there. And I went to bed with my back sliding door unlocked.
Yeah.
Because we had like a little backyard, a little side yard type of thing. So 7:30 in the morning, I'm kind of a light sleeper. My eyes pop open and I see a pair of shoes walking by towards my kitchen. I'm like, well, that's not right. Yeah. So I hop out of bed. Yeah, Emily and the dog are sleeping, by the way. They totally slept through this.
The dog just useless on this one.
Does not give a shit, dude.
No.
My dog is like...
Hello, burglary.
She wakes late, first of all. She likes to sleep in. She's lazy in the morning. She didn't care.
Didn't give a fuck.
Any other time of day, she'll bark if she thinks somebody's outside. But she was passed out. So I hopped out of bed. I closed the door behind me. I popped my head out of the hallway. And at this point, he's standing in my kitchen.
Awesome.
Which is by the front door.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking already, too, that my biggest knife is laid out on the counter right where he's standing.
Close to him.
Right where he's standing.
Yeah.
And I kind of pop my head out of the hallway and I go, yo, like that. And right at that moment, we hear a radio chirp, a police radio chirp right outside the front door. They're already looking for him.
Yeah.
And he turns around, comes out of the kitchen towards me, and he goes, he says, I'm just hiding from police right now.
Oh, cool. In my fucking kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at him long, but he was shirtless, he was tatted up, seemingly high on something, probably meth.
Probably.
But it was obvious he wasn't immediately trying to attack me.
Yeah.
So he came back towards me. He said, I'm just hiding from police right now.
Which was the truth. He's clearly hiding
and
from
I
police.
just said, okay, like that. I put both hands up. I said, okay. And I took 2 steps back into my office.
Yeah.
Grabbed the Glock.
Yeah.
Charged it.
Yeah.
By the time I got back out of the hallway into the living room, he had already gone back out the back door.
He went out the back door.
Yeah, right. The same way he came, he went back out the back, hopped the wall, and cops caught him 2 minutes later on the other street.
What were you feeling in that moment? Were you pretty fucking adrenaline out?
Yeah, I was adrenaline out, so I was a little bit shaky like a minute after.
Yeah.
But I immediately had the realization, wow, God saved me again. Because that could have gone so many ways. He could have grabbed that knife. He could have rushed me.
He could have been packing too.
And at that point, I didn't have the gun in my hand yet.
Right.
So, there would have been some sort of fight there.
Right.
I would have gotten hurt.
Right.
Or I could have come out of that hallway when I did have the gun and had to shoot him.
Had to shoot him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was prepared to tell him basically just, you can either get out on your legs or you can get out on a stretcher. I don't, it's going to go one of two ways.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give him the warning.
And, God that day said, neither one has to happen. He's just going to leave, and you're safe.
So you're a big God guy.
I am now. I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And then when I was 18, I decided church wasn't for me. I didn't want to go to church. And so last year when I started going back, about a year ago exactly in May, it had been about 20 years since I had been to church.
Wow.
20 solid years out of the church, and then I came back.
Yeah.
And it feels great.
Like Sunday Mass kind of dude? Or?
Sunday Mass.
Yeah,
Sunday
cool.
Mass. And I do some daily prayers.
Nice.
And a lot of people, especially like when somebody younger or like single or whatever goes to church, like they think like, oh, he's just going because he feels some sort of guilt or like, or he's afraid, maybe afraid of the afterlife or like whatever.
Yeah, when you go back after that many years, like what's going on with this dude?
I go to say thank you. That's literally it.
That's cool.
Because that example, the burglar example guy, that was just one example. Like God has saved me multiple times where it's like, wow, that could have gone way worse. Yeah. And somebody was there for me. Somebody was looking out because I'm fine. I'm still here.
Sure.
So I go to say thank you. I love you. And that's it.
I think that's cool.
That's literally, it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
The daily prayers have given me a confidence that I didn't have before.
So that's kind of worked into your routine. You do like, is that a morning thing? When do you do your?
Night.
Night.
So,
okay.
Because typically that's when I have more time.
Yeah.
And I will pray a full rosary when I walk my dog, like for the evening walk. Wow. So I'll walk her around the block, and that's usually about 20 minutes. So that's enough time to say a rosary, maybe one other prayer.
Wow.
And
so like
that's been my new routine since Lent. So a month before Easter.
So you're doing it kind of traditionally, like a traditional Catholic style.
Yes, and
approach, right? I mean,
which is interesting because like I wouldn't call myself a traditional Catholic. I'm actually a firm believer in reincarnation.
Interesting.
Which is not a tenet of
the
Catholic Church.
Right.
But so I definitely, and I have a lot of books in my library, personal library, that would get me burned at the stake in the 1500s. I'm a big book collector. I love books, and I collect a lot of stuff about different religions.
Sure.
And also about like psychic research.
Sure.
There's a little like psychical research society in New York that I'm part of. That's pretty cool. They have their own libraries.
Wow.
I find that stuff really interesting. But yeah, I love reading about different beliefs and different religions. And I feel that there is quite a bit of real life evidence supporting reincarnation. So it's hard for me to deny that.
What do you, first of all, I think I ditched the term religion a long time ago and just went to spirituality because exactly like you said, I grew up Catholic, doesn't really resonate with me. Some things do, some things don't. Afterlife stuff resonates with me, Buddhist stuff, karma, all that. There's that whole world. But there's other religions too. Yeah. I think you just basically say, well, I'm spiritual, right? Or whatever. And however you frame that's kind of the way to do it. But tell me about these reincarnations. Like, where are you seeing the evidence?
Well, it's sort of, I guess it started, there was a book I read called Journey of Souls, which was written by this doctor who was a hypnotist, and he would do a type of therapy with his clients called regression therapy, where he would put them, in a subconscious state to talk about their past lives. Yeah. And this is a kind of a common thing. There are a lot of different therapists that do this. Yeah. But he stumbled upon something when doing that where he was able to walk them through the limbo between lives.
Interesting.
And sort of get insight about what do we do in between? What do we do when we're not here on Earth?
Before we get reassigned.
Right. And all the stories were very moving. They were very convincing. Then then I came across a couple other stories. Like there was this documentary on Netflix where a religious figure in Tibet passed away, and they were looking for his reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave certain clues about where he was going to reincarnate and what he was going to do.
Okay.
So he passes away, and then a couple people in charge of finding him after that had to go find him.
Yeah.
Where is he going to be born now? Who
Following
is
the
this
little
kid?
crumbs, yeah.
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 And eventually they did find a kid in a nearby town. And they ran him through some tests. They would lay out a bunch of items in front of him and say, which one of these used to be yours? He always picked the right one.
Wow.
He would, they showed him photos, and he'd be like, yeah, that's me, that's my mom, blah, blah, blah. It was very convincing to watch that. There was another story, I think it was in Syria recently, like maybe a couple years ago, where a kid was born with he had this scar on his forehead.
Yeah.
And he kept going on and on about how he was murdered in his last town with an axe. Somebody had axed him in the head.
Yeah.
And the parents were just like, okay, let's go find him. Let's go see if that's real. And the kid led them to the town.
Yeah.
And they asked around. He gave a description of the guy, and they said, oh yeah, that's so and so. So they went to this guy, and the kid's like, yo, you killed me. And the guy's like, no, I didn't. Like, he's denying it.
Yeah.
And the kid goes, okay, watch this. I know exactly where you killed me, and I know where you hid the stuff too. And he takes him to the location
Where he threw the fucking...
Mind you, this kid is like 5,
Yeah, the kid's...
4 or 5.
Yeah.
And he takes them to the location, and they find bones. They find a burial site of a guy with a cracked skull.
Yeah.
And then they find the axe nearby it, underground.
Oh my God.
And it's like, dude, this
is fucking great.
First of all, it's funny that this kid was like hell-bent on getting justice for himself.
That happened in that little limbo phase there,
Yeah.
where they were deciding what's going to happen. You're going to go get your fucking justice.
Yeah.
That's
And every now and
crazy.
then, like, I'll come across a reel, like, on Instagram where they're showing a parent is, like, filming their kid talk about a past life.
Yeah.
And they always think it's so funny. Like, the parents are, like, laughing.
Yeah.
Like, they don't take it very seriously.
Yeah.
But it blows my mind, because I feel like there's clear evidence.
No,
like,
I think when
kids
children
don't
are
make
doing
up that stuff.
Kids are doing wacky shit like that, there's something really interesting going on there.
Yeah, especially when they're really well spoken and it seems like they've been here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, I look at like, musician, and like sometimes I'll see, like, I just saw that there's this 1-year-old playing drums, like, but fully coordinated, like well beyond, like, and I've seen young kids, I was playing when I was a kid, but not.
Yeah, just to have that motor control.
I've seen,
like,
you
rhythm.
see like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and then like 5-year-olds that are they're proficient on but like a 1-year-old, right? That can't even, still fucking drooling, right?
Right.
And being able to keep time out of the blue.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's coming from somewhere else, man.
Yeah.
It's coming from somewhere else, and it's crazy.
I believe that's
the evidence is all around us.
Yeah, that's our mission. That's our cycle. We're going through a cycle. I think that you're mostly here to learn and to express.
I agree.
So what are you learning? You're learning different lessons every time.
100%.
And I think it makes sense that some people are born with a certain air of wisdom to them.
I talk about this,
It's like,
with my wife all the time. We say that she's been around. Like she's not. This ain't her first rodeo.
Right.
Me, I'm probably more of a newbie. I arrived here.
And everyone's learning a different lesson too, right? It's like some people really don't have patience.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't been through certain lives that taught them patience.
That's right. So
some people are born with that. It's like, well,
and this
they
is where this
obviously
shit's
have that
coming
experience.
from. I mean, these are not like acquired skills along the way. Like this
Right.
shit's just in people, and
These
like,
are virtues.
These are
that you
virtues,
earn.
right?
Yeah.
You arrive here with these virtues, and like, where the fuck did they come from?
Yeah.
Because you look at your parents or whatever, and they don't have them, and it's like, well, this is just weird.
Yeah.
But I think it's so true, and I think, like I said, it's all around us every day.
Right.
You'd be blind not to see it.
Yeah.
But most people are blind. They're not looking. They're not aware. There's no awareness in
Yeah.
this
I
world.
mean, we're all
Zero.
everyone's so tunnel vision on just whatever's right in front of them.
Zero
They're
awareness.
not thinking about all this.
No.
You know.
No. And then you
Zoomed
kind of try to have these conversations, and they're just shorts them out.
Yeah.
They're back on the phone.
Yeah.
So.
Because then you can zoom it out even more. Like how does that system work then? If we if we are reincarnating to learn different lessons and we keep on coming back here, I don't know. How does that? What are the mechanics of that system? Like Elon Musk talks about how likely it is that we're in a simulation.
Right.
I agree with him technically that yes, once you can create one good simulation, the odds are that there are, an infinite amount of simulations running for the same end.
It's inexplicable in terms of the advancements we've made in 50 years, right? In the 50s, you just had television, right? And like, look where we are now. We have fucking robots, and there's way more that we don't even, they trickle this shit out. Like we're way more advanced. That's not, we went from, evolutionarily speaking, we went from whatever, maybe we're fucking apes or whatever, and then we evolved into this and that. And like, this span of time is just going like this. There's something pulling the strings there.
Right.
I mean, that's the way I see it. It's just far too insane.
Yeah.
It's just far too insane. It's the trickle effect that pisses me off, because why can't they just throw it all on the fucking table, whatever is actually going on? But we're left here to just kind of decipher it and like feel it out as it happens.
I mean, for one, we don't know.
I don't think we know shit.
And for two, the whole like industry of science, of modern science, is very like gate kept, and it's very like
absolutely.
It's very like only scholars are allowed here, and we believe what we already discovered, and anything that goes against that, we're going to be very hard against, and we're going to shut it down. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I think that three-dimensional space works like a simulation, but it's not a simulation in the sense that we do have actual souls, and we're here living very real lives.
Yes.
Three-dimensional space, however, I don't think is real. Like, I mean, that's one thing that science has started to agree upon, is that like physical matter doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. It feels physical to us, but it's really just
exist. Yeah.
Everything's just a vibration. Everything is waves.
Yes.
So what works in waves with light? That would be a hologram. Mm-hmm. So I think that like three-dimensional space works like a hologram, and we're here functioning in this hologram. I think our brains also function holographically to interface with it and to interpret the waves as physical matter.
Yeah.
And then that makes you think about simulation theory again. Like how real does that world feel? Like what if characters in Grand Theft Auto are like somewhat sentient? Like would obviously, if they were, whatever objects you see in the game, that feels real to them. They can bump into them. They can be hit by them.
Yeah.
Lift the glass, blah blah blah. It's like it most likely works the same way.
Sure.
Except that we are real. I don't believe we are simulated.
Yeah.
But I do believe that
there's something
physical
real
space
about us.
functions like a simulation would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something real about us, but it's highly confusing, and you could go on all day about it because there's really no endpoint.
That was another thing that led me back to God too. Was like 2012ish, when Joe Rogan was starting to get popular. He had a Netflix documentary about DMT, and
and they all see God.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me that DMT is the strongest psychedelic known to man, and it's created naturally in your brain.
Yeah.
It's not something synthetic.
That's kind of interesting.
And it's released, at the moments of death usually. Mm-hmm. I've done it once.
The Bufo, or
definitely
which one
was
did
a
you
trip.
You did the frog, or you did just like...
No, like my friend extracted DMT from like acacia root, from the tree root where it comes out strongest. And then, you just smoke it in a bowl.
Yeah, you can do that.
Take about a 10-minute trip and come back. And it feels a lot like a dream. Like it's hard to explain once you come back what you just saw, because it's not really explainable in our terms.
Yeah.
But you definitely like go somewhere else.
You go somewhere,
like
No, that's what everybody says.
You're not in your body anymore. You're you're somewhere else. You go through a portal and you're gone.
It's freaked me out. I haven't played with it.
But I remember when I saw Joe Rogan's documentary about that, I did some research, and this was back when Google was like good and didn't just show you like SEO commercial bullshit. You could actually find like cool links through Google back then in 2012.
Yeah.
And I came across this guy called Scott Onstadt, and he's an author. By trade, he taught architects how to use AutoCAD software, which is the 3D architecture software. He also wrote like Photoshop guidebooks officially. But in doing that architecture stuff, he started to discover patterns in all the major important buildings throughout the world.
Really?
Things that, and throughout time too, like not just modern buildings, but stuff made
the Sphinx,
forever ago. Sphinx, pyramids, Vatican,
all this,
White House.
Yeah, White House.
Anything of significance at all, religious or government wise.
Yeah.
They all had certain things in common.
Yep. I've heard about this.
Symbology, obviously, for one.
Yep.
But it was all through numbers. Scott is a magnificent mathematician.
Yeah.
And he recognized insane equations and number patterns shared throughout all these things.
Sure.
And then not only that, but then he would zoom out and use Google Earth. And all of these significant places on the Earth, significant buildings, Stonehenge, that type of thing, they all had very specific distances from each other around the Earth. And that's to do that throughout different eras of human life, and with architects that have never been able to speak to each other or know each other.
Yeah.
How does all this tie together so perfectly?
And they all have secrets. They say a lot of, volumes of shit are buried beneath all these places.
Oh, yeah. Especially the Vatican, of course. But
the Vatican's clearly one of them. Even the White House, they think the Sphinx, they talk about there's just shit that they're not even unearthing under there that's supposed to have all the fucking secrets, right? So all these places, like you said, are very, very connected.
So the main message I kept getting from this was intelligent design.
There's
no way these things line up so perfectly and share all these characteristics with each other without there being a guiding hand
no question.
Saying this goes here, this is going to go there, this is going to go there.
No question.
Why is the moon 400 times smaller than the sun and the exact distance to cover it, during an eclipse the exact way?
Yeah.
Why are all these things so perfect? If the entire universe had like a control board and you slightly tweaked one little dial, we wouldn't even be here. Like what?
It's really
it's too perfect.
It's really fucking crazy. I mean, there's so much shit that we don't know and so much speculation. But I'm going to ask you a couple random questions.
Let's do it.
Quick fire questions. What would you say is one habit that's completely changed your life?
I wish I could say it was my sleep schedule, but that's definitely I'm still working on that.
That's fine.
I'd have to go back to the daily prayer thing that I was telling you about.
Amazing.
That keeps me on a path that I can feel proud about and happy about.
So cool.
It steers me away from bad habits. It just gives me a confidence that I didn't have before, just to communicate with God for however long, 15, 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That has made a huge difference in my day, in my mood.
Wow. That's amazing.
Everything. Yeah.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple. That's so cool.
Yeah. Just communication with God.
I love that. What would you say is the one book every guy's got to read? You got to pick one.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what your aim is, because I would say like what really started to change my worldview and what led me down all these rabbit holes was a Scott Onstadt book.
That book, okay.
So I started reading Scott when it was just a blog.
Mm-hmm.
He used to just have blog posts about whatever he discovered. And then at a certain point, a few years later, maybe 2014, 15, he put it all in a book, which is called Anthology Secrets in Plain Sight.
Okay.
By Scott Onstad. It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then the blog posts weren't available online anymore after that.
Wow.
So now it's
But
all
the
just
book still is.
It's all in that book, yeah,
Okay.
and it's available. And that really just opened my eyes to, like, first of all, the perfection. Why is everything lined up so perfectly? There's obviously a designer in this.
Yeah.
What are the symbols in coding? What does it mean? Everything is run by number.
Yep.
Number controls the way that we see things and the way that these waveforms take form, that we perceive. And that led me into all these other mindsets and led me to other books and that kind of thing. So for me, I was looking for a discovery of what this is, why we're here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It got you a little bit closer.
That really got me into that. Also, that Journey of Souls book was pretty good.
Journey of Souls.
Yeah. So that was this doctor's direct interviews with his clients. It's all just the scripts
cool.
of that in that.
This is how I get my future reading, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge reader.
You got to check it out. I'll let you borrow it.
You can't read everything, though. I mean, it's insane.
And I have a huge, like, collection problem where, like, because I live across from a bookstore.
No,
and
fuck.
I really like it. And
Yeah.
I'll visit it, like, once every 1 or 2 weeks. And I almost can't get away with leaving without buying something that I see. And
I get it.
Now I just have stacks of books on my desk.
I do it too now, and I buy books
I don't know
in
when I'm
other
gonna read.
countries. I always go in the bookstores, old, like, you know, not like corporate shit, like real bookstores. Next time you're over, because you haven't seen it, we actually had a built-in bookcase made in that little library room we
Nice.
have. So to house all this fucking material we have.
Yeah. I need that.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. My next question for you is, how's your relationship with failure?
It's better now. I've definitely failed a lot, and I'm okay with it. I think it's really just a part of being here. Very few people make it through life and nail every single move and every single decision perfectly.
Yeah.
I have definitely fumbled the bag in a ton of different ways, with money, with relationships, with, I don't know, just situations. There were plenty of things I could have done better.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that. It's a lesson.
Right.
I don't like to take the L, as they say. I don't like to take the L as a loss. I take it as a lesson.
I love it. No.
Am I going to do that again next time? No. You know,
No.
I learned this, so this is the way I'm going to move next time.
It's the only way you can really look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because it shows progress if you keep
Yeah.
going at it and going
And
at it.
that's another thing that prayer has helped me with lately too, was like, I used to get real down on myself.
Yeah.
And be like, man, you really fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to get back up to where I was? Or like, how am I going to fix this? If you just remember that if you communicate with God daily, you feel his presence and you feel that he loves you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that the main message there is just get back up again.
Love it.
Okay, you fell. Happens.
Okay.
Get back up.
Yeah. Love that.
And he always gets me back up.
That's
So,
amazing. Last question. What do you feel, or I should say, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to be a good man?
I guess there's a few definitions of that, but I think a good man can, for one, be measured by how he handles stress. I think that all men are under a lot of stress
For sure.
because part of being a good man is being a provider, not just for yourself, but for your family. And obviously that's stressful. But you go through a lot of different things that it's all short-term stress. And if you're going to let it affect your mood and your reactions, you might not be fully a man yet.
Yep. If you're going to shift it and let
Right.
it make you a dick because
Yeah.
you're dealing with normal shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely have been there. Like
Yeah, I think we've all probably done that.
we all have. I've been affected. I've gotten angry. I've gotten sad. I've gotten depressed.
Yeah.
But that's not the way to go about it. But like once you grow into the type of man you're supposed to be, which I'm not admitting I am yet,
Sure,
because
I get it.
I still definitely have faults and things that I'm working on and trying to improve. But I feel like I finally have that under control, that no matter what happens throughout the day, whatever setbacks hit me, I'm just like, okay, no worries, we can handle it.
Yeah.
I'll always figure out a way, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're going to figure out a way through it.
Love it. That's the
so
way you got to be, man.
That would be my main definition, I think.
I think it's perfect definition. I think that we have to just keep working at it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I always look back at my younger self and I just shake my head.
Yeah. Yeah,
and,
I'm not looking forward to rewatching the scenes of my life, in between lives or whatever.
But that's the point, because if you look back and you shake your head, then you're doing the right thing.
At least you've.
At least you
improved.
understand.
Yeah.
I had to make some attitude adjustments in my life, and that's what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, everyone's pretty late to the game. We realize things too late, but like you said about failure, as long as you keep going back at it and you come into awareness at some fucking point in your life, you can make it all right.
Yep.
You could fix it all.
Every failure has something to teach you.
Yes.
So make sure, if you're going to fail, make sure at least you get something from that.
That's right.
Some sort of lesson that you can carry on to the next thing you do.
There's some gold there.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Failing's literally necessary.
Necessary.
You're not going to learn anything if you just accidentally nailed the right decision every time.
No, necessary for progress. Yeah. Couldn't agree more, man. Well, it's been quite a fucking journey with you here.
No, it was fun.
It was fun.
Thanks,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We will do it again very soon. Stencil Hubbard.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.